Hey guys, welcome back to Germ's Garage. One thing about having a small space in order to do your work, which I basically have a 1.5, 1.25 car carport that I do everything out of. One disadvantage of that is you got to set up and tear down for everything else you're wanting to do. So here we go. Let's go ahead and set this thing up and see what we can do. Time for an oil change though. All right, we got the truck in. The hood's popped. I haven't actually opened it yet, so oil change is underway for sure. The garage is clean-ish up, and wanted to show you this. The first thing I do before I put it on jack stands is I loosen all the lug nuts because I also rotate the tires whenever I do an oil change every single time. Do it by hand. Just bought this Pittsburgh breaker bar. I think it's 25 inches, and I wish I bought one years ago. Because loosening with those little T's, that's tough, but this was like a breeze. I just kind of breathed on it, and the 25-inch breaker bar just broke them right loose. Quick tip, I tend to tighten my lug nuts by hand. I've got an impact wrench or an impact gun, electric one, and I don't tend to use it much, simply because only whenever I have to take off a lug nut that another shop might have just like cranked on. I am a little old school and like to do things as manually as possible, so this thing is my new impact wrench. I will run it on a small impact driver with an adapter, something like this here for my impact driver, to just zip off the lug nuts, but they're so loose now I should be able to take them off by hand. It's a brand new truck, so no threads need to be chased or anything like that. Everything's good to go. So let's get this oil change done. I also wanted to mention something about how I work on concrete. I'm 42 years old right now, 2022, about to turn 43, and I wanted to just mention I have to work on the concrete quite a bit. Kneeling down and that sort of thing, and one thing a lot of people will do is they will actually get like knee pads and wear knee pads, which is fine. I've done that before, and there's nothing wrong with that. Stepping back out in the sun because I've lost it. Where did I put the thing? But anyway, what I used is what's called a Z seat. So let me flip you around and show you that. So this is a Thermarest Z seat. I got this at REI for like $15. You can just cut up a piece of foam if you want to, but this folds up so tight and it weighs literally nothing. I mean, I think you're like 3 ounces or something like that. It's really light. So it does fold up. It's designed as like a camp seat to put on the ground, but it works great for my knees. And so I will literally just lay this on the ground before I get down on my knees and use that to save my knees. And it's so light whenever I tow the camper or I go on a trip, I just chunk it in the toolbox. And if in case I have a blowout or something like that, need to get down on the side of the road, I've got insulation. What's great about this is if it's really hot outside and you have to change the tire on the side of the road and the pavement is just scorching hot, you can put this down and give yourself a little bit of a barrier between you and that scorching hot pavement. All right, guys, some of y'all may be wondering how to jack up the truck. You experienced guys, disregard. I'm sure y'all can figure this out, but this is what I did. I put a jack on a 4x4 to get it lifted up high enough, and then towards the back of the frame before it arches up to go over the rear axle. That's where I put the back jacks, and the front jacks, I put them up towards the front. They're both on the same notch. You know, the front ones are on the same notch, the back ones are on the same notch to get the truck level. The truck is level, and before I do anything, I always go around the corners and give it some jerks just to make sure she's really on there good. So I do the 4-corner kind of vice grip garage hee-ho just to make sure. If I can shake the truck hard enough to come off the jack stands, then I don't need to be under the truck. So that's what I do. I get it up safely on all 4 jack stands. I don't ever just put it on 2. I always put it on 4. Get the wheels off the ground. Give me something safe to get under the truck with. So there you go. Oh, and one other thing, I always leave the jack up against the frame with just a little bit of tension on it, just in case the impossible happens and the jacks collapse. So that's what I do. During my oil changes, what I do the tire rotation first. So that's what I'm going to do now. So yeah, just rotate the tires, take them off. The fronts go straight to the front, the backs, excuse me, go straight to the front on the same side, and then the fronts crisscross to the opposite side back. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, guys, I've got the wheels off the truck. They're leaning up against the Nerf bars. Just want to walk around and show you a few things that I look for whenever I'm doing maintenance like this. I'm going to use this pry bar as a pointer. This is a leaf spring pack, and as you can see from the factory, they have a marker indicating that this was torqued at the factory, and so we can observe if it loosens up any. This is what's called a disc brake. I'm suspicious that there's probably a little drum in here. No, probably not. There's an electric actuator back here. That's probably your emergency brake, the electric actuator right there. This is called a caliper. This is the slider. I know there's probably a proper name for it, but this holds the discs. The disc and the caliper assembly get bolted on here. And let's see, if I was to have to change this, where would I unscrew it? Nice. Yep, those 2 bolts for sure would have to come off. But I always try to get in here and just check the pad wear. And the pad wear, this is a brand new truck with 6,700 miles on it, so the pads look pretty good. It does have a pad wear indicator on these trucks, and on the front I do something similar. I also examine the discs themselves, make sure we're not getting excessive wear. These are still looking good. You can see one of those factory paint marks here to indicate to me if the disc has actually, or the tech I should say, if the disc is, that bolt is moved, or that bolt has moved any. That one's not moved at all. You can see the caliper again, and you can see the discs and the disc pad retainers right there. As far as under the front end, things that I'm looking for is I'm looking for damage mostly. I'm looking to see if one of my brake lines has been damaged. Is it in its holder right up here? Yes, it looks good. Making sure that none of my electrical lines are broken. Making sure that my boots are all looking good on my ball joints. These up here are the A-arm bushings, and those look pretty good too. I don't know if the 4-wheel drives have the same A-arm setup. I suspect they do, but I'm checking the bushings back here. I'm checking my tie rods, which is this piece right here. That's actually part of your suspension. And look at that clearance right there. That's awesome. But these are all sealed from the factory, so there's no particular maintenance on that. Here's the sway bar end links right here. And so I try to check those too, make sure those are looking good. And your sway bar bushings right there, they look good. This is actually your jack mounting point, your jacking point for the front end right here. So just keep that in mind. Looks like there's our rack and pinion up here, and it's got some kind of plate on it. I had a little rock on it, a little skid plate for your rack and pinion. This is your strut. It's got your coil spring, so it's a spring over strut. And this sucker right here, you examine it for oil leaking out of it and that sort of thing. It'll probably start making noise if it goes bad. It might not make noise. Some of them do, some of them don't. But a big indicator is, you know, how does the truck bounce around down the road? You know, is it leaking, visibly leaking grease on the outside of it? Anything like that. So just double check that stuff. All right, I'm gonna get the tires rotated. I've got them all in position, so I'm just gonna put them back on after I go through all the exams. Ooh, look at that. That's a QR code, gentlemen. That's interesting. I wonder where that takes me. I'll find that out later. Hey everyone, I just wanted to point out another little tip that I have picked up. And that is to date my parts that I'm putting on, especially my maintenance parts. So this filter's got the date 6/5/22 because that's whenever this is going on. If you're wondering about an oil filter wrench, it will work. I haven't actually got under the truck yet to see if I can take it off by hand. I don't expect I'll be able to, so I'll probably have to use this to get it out. But this is Hyper Tough 4215. Got it at Walmart. Hey guys, this is mostly for the 2.7 liter Forum. I just wanted to point a few things out underneath here. If you haven't been, if you haven't been under your truck, this looks like a transmission cooler to me. You got these trans lines coming off right here, and then they go into the block. It rotates around this block and comes out right here and back to the transmission. This is the transmission cooler, I suspect. So what we got going on here, I hope you guys can see it, but it looks like there's an oil cooler, excuse me, an engine oil cooler right here that is very similar. But these are actually coolant lines. So there's a coolant line coming here, there's a coolant line coming here, cooling what I suspect is the oil cooler, engine oil cooler right here on the side of the block. And this guy is the transmission cooler, I suspect, because I don't know if you can see it up here. Right there is the coolant T, and you've got a short coolant hose running into the trans cooler and a short coolant hose running into the transmission cooler, engine cooler, transmission cooler, excuse me. But they're teeing off the same supply line or return line. I'm not sure which one's which. And then you have another hose running up top, which I suspect to be the return or the feed. Not really sure, but I thought that was an interesting design. That would explain why these trucks run the way that they do. Transmission cooler's right here, and engine oil cooler's there. And so if I have my suspicion as how electronically controlled this engine is, this 2.7 and this transmission, what I suspect is as the temperature rises on your transmission, there's probably an actuator, a valve, that will send more coolant to the transmission cooler to get more coolant off of that. So let's see if I can read live action right here. Yep, there's oil out, SPHEO, which I suspect that's out, and SPHEI up here in the top. So this is coolant in, coolant out, and this one is oil out going back to the transmission. This is oil in. So your transmission oil runs from here to here, and I'm sure that there's just cross fins right here. So predictions, watch your coolant very, very closely. If your coolant craps the bed, we could have 6.0 type issues here, because if the coolant goes bad and gums up, it will gum up your cooler and you'll ghost your transmission. That's just the way it is. So pay attention to your coolant. This engine very much relies on a coolant, the engine coolant, to keep the transmission and the engine at operating temperatures. All right. Okay, so let's cut this part and let's look at the oil. Okay, so now we're on to the engine oil. So I'm going to set this up on a tripod, but I just wanted to show you. This is the oil drain plug. It takes just a standard ratchet. You just plug it in, and it's just a very small turn. You can see the pinions there. I think that's what you call it, whatever. But you just very small amount of movement, and I think it's literally a quarter of a turn. So I'm going to leave it tight. The oil filter. Let's see if it'll come off by hand. Nope. Have to get the ratchet on it too. I could probably get it off by hand, but no need to when you got the tools. All right, so I'm going to get this draining, and then I'll turn you guys back on. Don't put your oil filters on like this. This is crazy. So I've had oil filters put on so tight that you literally had to take a screwdriver and run through it. So I'm really trying to avoid that if I can. Like, very much so. So what I want to try to do is just use this monkey wrench to get me a little bit of a move. I don't need much, just a little bit. And once I've got it, I've got it. Pray I don't drop it on myself though. Oil filters are not really that strong, so there's really like no reason whatsoever to tighten these filters up this way. Brand new truck, by the way. Brand new. This isn't some monkey at a quick lube station. This is from the factory. Yay! We got no oil filter should require this, ever. None. Here comes the oil bath. Yeah, I can get it moving by hand now. Woo! Good grief. back to our regularly scheduled program of a routine oil change. Good Lord, have mercy on my soul. This is crazy. Things that shouldn't happen. All right, so what I am a little concerned about is the oil filter housing does seem to overhang ever so slightly this cross member. Good grief, guys. I mean, seriously? Why? GM, I'd love for you to comment on my video. Why is the oil filter put on so tight? Anybody got any ideas? I have no idea. Okay, it's on to filling the oil now. I've got an oil filter I've got dedicated just to oil changes, and after I'm done, every single time I just stuff a rag down in it to kind of keep it clean. But I always have to end up cleaning it again, so do what thou wilt, right? This engine calls for 6 quarts of oil. So what I do is I go ahead and dump 5 in, at least on my last engine. What I usually do is go, like, if it says 6 quarts, then I will fill like 5.5 quarts, or 5 3/4 quarts, and then sorry, pulling that off, and then I'll start the vehicle. In. So I started using SuperTech. I've got another video I made about why I use SuperTech, or why it's the choice oil that I use. But y'all are probably like, you have a brand new truck. Why are you being cheap? That's a valid statement. But I started using SuperTech years ago when I was broke, and that's what got me started changing my own oil. And over the years, I just kept using it because I've got good confidence in it. So we're in good shape there. So I'm going to set this can off. Get the trash out of the way. I'm going to take y'all with me for a few minutes while I start the engine. Boom. Okay. Good. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do now is get the old oil into the container that we just used. So I'm not sure if you can see me or not, but what I do is I have this long funnel that's I found useless for most other things. What I drop it down in the bucket. This is the oil, the 5-quart oil bucket that we just used. And so kind of face it towards me. If it's got one of these lines, the SuperTech generally has these, you know, clear spots so you can see where you're at. But most of them can, you know, you can easily see it. And then I pick up the pan. These are not the best pans because you got to go pretty slow. And I just pour it in. I let it drain kind of slow. You can go faster if you want to. It's up to you. But I try to be careful. And I have made an absolute disaster of this oil change. There's oil everywhere, and I'm usually not like that. But it is what it is today, guys. All right, everyone, thanks for watching that. Now all I need to do is get the truck down on its wheels and torque the wheels to spec. So let's do that now. All right, guys, so the spec calls for 140 foot-pounds on the lug nuts. So this is just a cheap Harbor Freight lug nut or torque wrench. We got it set to 140 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna go set the parking brake and make sure that we are secure. Parking brake's on. And so I'm just gonna do one as a demonstration from that angle, and then I'm gonna switch angles and let you see what it looks like looking straight at the lug nuts. So that's how it pops. Let's move you over here so you can see actual lugs. And then this is the one that I just did, so it should pop almost immediately. Yep. And then we're going to go in a star pattern. It's popped. As soon as it pops, stop. I went a little past that time. Good. And that's what you do. So I'm going to go around the truck and do the rest of that, and I'll talk to you guys whenever I wrap this up. Thanks. Hey guys, this is the last step. You go through the menu, and here's our oil life at 11%. And you hold down the little scroll wheel and it resets. Oil life is back at 100%. Oil pressure is looking good. Everything's good to go. 6,700 miles. I'll show you. This is the last step with the truck. I got one more step that I do for documentation. Alright guys, so that's it. That's how you change the oil on a 2022, I guess 2019 to 2022 2.7 Chevrolet. There's the beast. Only thing left to do now is clean it up. So that's what we'll do. Get her cleaned up. After a word from our sponsor. Are pesky, stinging bugs flying around making you sick? What you need is the Zap It 9000. With the Zap It 9000, you can zap those bugs right to death. Yes, the Zap It 9000. Oh, it's battery powered, finger operated, whenever those stingers come for you, all you have to do is zap it. Zap, 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 zap. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps it up. The last thing on servicing this truck that I wanted to show everybody is I tear off the oil filters tag or lid, the flap, whatever you call it, and I store these in the owner's manual as I do the change, or in the glove box. And what I do on the back is I actually write the information, the date, what I did, I changed the oil, what filter, you know, what the OLM status was, and I reset it, you know, that sort of thing. I document the filter and the type of oil that went in the truck and the mileage. So I do this just in case I need any warranty work. That way I've got proof. This is the actual filter that I put on it. This is the box that it came out of. In the same thread, in the owner's manual, because if they ever clean the truck, if you ever sell the truck, this will be discarded if they find it. So it's mostly for the next owner that I sell it to, or warranty work if I need it. But in your owner's manual, every single owner's manual I've ever had has lined paper at the back, and that's where I document the same thing, just for the future owner's peace of mind, or not peace of mind, so they know what we did or what we did not do. So everything I do to the truck gets documented in the owner's manual. And I usually do an oil change whenever I do major services, like, well, not major services, but like oil filter, air filter, belts, anything else like that I might do, document it on the little tag and throw that into the glove box. So since this is a brand new truck, I might just go ahead and like write oil, first oil change or something like that. And also, if you have any notes, like you see the oil looks different, something's changed, you can make little notes on your tags as well. If you write small enough, there's plenty of room for other observations. Like you can even write little notes to yourself, like on the next oil change, make sure you change the air filter or stuff like that. So I'll probably write down a few things like everything looked good or something like that. This truck is so new, there's really no wear on the brakes or the rotors or anything like that. So two or three more oil changes, and then we'll do a transmission fluid flush. Yes, I know they're supposed to go to 100,000 miles, but I want this truck to last forever, not just 100,000 miles. So we'll probably do a swap of the fluid at 30 or 40,000, maybe 50,000 if I'm feeling comfortable, and we'll see what goes on there. Looks like it'd be real easy to do with those oil lines coming out of that oil cooler on the bottom of the transmission. So anyway, that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed this simple little video. It's really not that hard to change the oil in one of these. There's a million other videos, and I just appreciate you guys watching mine. So I hope you guys have a great day. And if you have any questions, I'm just a guy at home. I'm not a trained mechanic. I've just started doing this stuff because I was a broke young dad and needed to save some money and service my cars. Not as broke anymore, but I still like doing it. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and if I can do anything for you, just holler. See you in the comments.